Today we're going to talk about cast-ons in knitting. I hope you don't get tired of looking at my hands. We're recording in a different location today than I normally do. I'm trying out a couple of different places. This room is not as noisy as other rooms in my house, so there hopefully won't be any annoying background noises for today. So we're going to talk about 3 cast-ons today. 1, 2, 3. We're going to do the knitted cast-on, we're going to do the cable cast-on, and we're going to do the long tail cast-on. All of these cast-ons are going to start with a slip knot. So with our yarn, I will show you, which is waving in the wind because I have a fan going. There might be like a humming noise in the background because I have a fan blowing on me because it's warm today. So we're going to start with our cast-on. However long you need to be from the end of your yarn, which I'll talk about later. You're going to, I realize I say a lot. Take your yarn, wrap it around your hand like this, so you make an X. The tail's right there. If you flip it over so you can see the back of your hand, reach under and grab that other strand. And then you can pull that loop up tight. This is your basic slip knot that all of our cast-ons are going to start with today. So we're going to start with the knitted cast-on. We're going to pop our slip knot onto our needle, give it a nice pull so it's up nice and tight. For a cable cast-on, you want to start with your slip knot maybe 6 or 8 inches away from your needle because you're going to weave this in later. We're only going to be working with the working yarn right now, which is attached to my ball of yarn. So, once I find my other needle. The knitted cast-on is a great cast-on for beginners because you're essentially learning the knit stitch while you do it. So, right needle goes into the stitch, just like you were going to knit it. Wrap your yarn around the back, pull it through. You're going to make your needles parallel to each other. Lefty is going to dive down into that stitch on the right needle and slide them off. So now we have 2 stitches where we had 1 before. We're going to repeat that. So the right needle goes into the next stitch like we're going to knit it, yarn around, pull it through, and slide him off. So we'll do a couple more for you guys. Into the stitch. Let's see if I can get closer without getting out of focus. Wrap around, pull it through, and slide him off. So now we have 4 stitches, and I'm going to just keep casting on like that. And then I will come back and show you a couple of rows finished so you can see what this cast-on looks like finished. And I will be right back. So here's our knitted cast-on after a couple of rows so you can see what it looks like. It's a little bit loopy at the bottom. It's got some stretch to it, so it would be good for anything that needs to be stretchy. This is not my favorite cast-on. I will do it if I'm only using, if I'm only going to be casting on a couple of stitches, just because I don't think it's as neat as some of the others I'm going to show you. But this is a good cast-on if you're going to teach a beginner because they're already kind of learning the knit stitch while they're casting on. And it's pretty easy in a pinch if you just need to, like I said, cast on a couple of stitches. It's good for that. So this is the knitted cast-on, and now we're going to move on to the cable cast-on. So the cable cast-on starts the same way as the knitted cast-on. They're actually very similar with just one difference really. Start with your slip knot, again 6, 8 inches, something like that from the end of your yarn. Pop your slip knot onto your needle. Okay. And just like before, I'm going to go into my stitch. It's a little tight. We go into my stitch, yarn around, pull it through like we're going to knit it. Just like before, dive down, pick him up. So this is starting the same exact way as the knitted cast-on. We have 2 stitches, but with the cable cast-on, instead of just knitting into this next stitch, we're going to insert our needle between these 2 stitches. If you can see that, our needle's in between those 2. Get it in there, yarn around, pull it through, pop it on the needle, and then repeat that in between those 2. Well, now we have 3, but in between the one you just put on and the last one, this guy right here. yarn through, pop it on in between those two stitches, and keep going. You can see what I'm doing, just like that. So this is as simple as the cable cast on can be. It's not the fastest cast on in the world, but it does make a really lovely finished edge, which I will show you after I finish casting on and do a couple of rows, and I will be right back. So here's the cable cast on after I've knitted a little bit. As you can see, it gives this nice kind of scalloped edge to the bottom. It looks, you know, like a nice cabled edge, which is why they call it the cable cast on. It's not as stretchy as the knitted cast on, but it does give a nice finished look to that edge. I'll use this cast on if I want my cast on edge just to look nice, if it doesn't have to be too functional, just for a nice decorative touch. I really like this cast on. I really like it. I'll use this one pretty often. But the third one that I'm going to show you is my absolute favorite cast on that I use for almost everything, which starts with our yarn, obviously. And this is called the long tail cast on. So for this, you need a long tail of yarn, and it can be a little bit frustrating for people to learn how to do, because if you don't unravel enough yarn at the beginning, you can run out halfway through your cast on and then have to start over, which is pretty annoying. So a good rule of thumb, I think, is for every stitch I would allow at least 1 inch of tail. So if I need to cast on 10 stitches, I'm going to leave at least 10 inches of tail, plus that 6 or 8 inches that I want to use later for weaving in my ends. So if I want to leave about that much for weaving in my ends, I would start about 10 inches from there. And that's where I'm going to put my slip knot. Just like before. Onto our needle. So, the long tail cast on, your needle is in your right hand. I'm going to anchor the slip knot with my index finger so it doesn't go anywhere. With our left hand, I'm going to use my bottom 3 fingers to grasp the 2 ends of the yarn. My index finger and my thumb are going to go in between those 2 strands to open them up, like that. So I'm holding the 2 strands with my 3 fingers at the bottom, my index finger and my thumb are in between. Holding the slip knot with my fingertip so it doesn't go anywhere. I'm going to pull it down so you can see a V right here. And the cast on goes like this. You're going to go up through this loop on your thumb. You're going to grab that yarn that's coming off your index finger and dive back down through that loop on your thumb. Let it fall off your thumb. Place your thumb back underneath and pull it tight. So that's 2 stitches. I know that was a lot, so I'm going to show you again. My 3 fingers down here are grasping the yarn. My index finger and my thumb are in between to keep it tight. This index finger on my right hand is holding these stitches so they don't go anywhere. So we've got our V up through the thumb loop, around the yarn that's coming off our index finger, dive back down through our thumb loop, let our thumb loop fall off, and tighten it up. So again, up, you're going to come from behind that yarn coming off your index finger, back down through that loop on your thumb, and pull it tight. So up, grab it, back down, and pull it tight. This can take a little bit of practice to learn, but once you get it down, it can be a pretty quick cast on. And I love this cast on. It just gives, it's the fastest, the one that I know how to do, and it gives a nice looking edge, which is why I use it most often, because I don't really have to think about it. All you have to think about is how much yarn to leave for your cast on. But once you get the hang of it, it can be a really quick cast on. I'll show you. I'll show you how quickly I can go. Once you get the hang of it, it's pretty quick. So I just cast on, I don't know how many stitches, but I am going to knit a couple rows, come back and show you what the long tail cast on looks like after you've knitted. So here's our long tail cast on after I've worked a couple of rows. As you can see, it just gives a nice even edge to your knitting. This one's actually pretty hard to screw up with the tension as long as you're consistent about it. It's a great cast on. This is my absolute favorite one. I use it on almost everything I knit. It's just quick, like you saw. I can go really quickly. It's nice and even looking at the bottom. It just gives a nice looking edge. It's just my favorite. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I hope you learned a new cast-on. If you haven't tried any of these before, grab a pair of needles and a ball of yarn and go to town. All these cast-ons are really pretty easy to learn how to do. I hope this video was really helpful. Like I said, if you want to learn more, this was only 3 cast-ons. There are a ton of cast-ons and bind-offs out there. If you want to learn more, we have a great class at Ann Kappa Fine Yarns called Cast-ons and Bind-offs, taught by one of our awesome instructors, Ann. So if you want to know more about cast-ons and different ways to do them, different functions of them, I would say definitely look for that class coming up soon, and I hope to see you guys all later, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye.